1. True faith is built, not given. True faith, authentic faith, raw faith, hardcore faith, gutter faith is built, not given. See, I could say, oh, my daddy has great faith. Oh, that I would be able to get it passed down to me like I got his knees. But that ain't how it works. We find in the scripture that the disciples are out on the boat, and they are now dealing with the boisterous wind and the waves. Now, here it is. They have been obedient. Jesus said, get in the boat and go to the other side. They ain't asked no questions. Why you ain't coming? What time you going to be there? Why we got to go? Why we can't wait for you? Why you staying here with them? They ain't asked no questions. They went. They did just what he told them to do. Now this. You told me to get into this ship. You told me to cross over to the other side. You told me to get in the boat without you. Now this. Right while they were in the thick of it, right when the wind was blowing, right when the waves was crashing, right when they didn't know what they were going to do, they were now into survival mode. And sometimes your faith is not built until you get into survival mode. See, while everything is honky-dory and everything is popping, you don't have to worry about building your faith because you got that. But what it is that you don't know if you're going to make it. What it is if you don't know if you can see left from right, front from back, how am I going to get out of this? That's when your true faith comes in. Survival mode. But you can believe. It was one of your cousins on that boat that said, you know, I can't believe he put us out here on this boat. What the hell was he thinking about? Just like we do. God, you told me to do this. You told me to go. Where are you now? See, you got to make it up in your mind that no matter what it looks like, tastes like, smell like, feel like, sound like, I'm going anyway. But see, you can't do that if you've never been through no test. You've never been able to be in a situation where your faith has had to be renewed. Amen? See, because we got a lot of lip service going on. You can cry, yes, Lord. You can cry holy, you can dance, you can flip-flop, you can speak in tongues, you can run laps, you can roll over on the floor, you can pray for 24 hours straight. But it's not until you put some action into what comes out your mouth that the Lord is moving on your behalf. So you got to know that when you say, yes, Lord, I'll go, you ain't got the enemy's attention yet. He's still sitting back in the cut chilling. He ain't thinking about you. Because you got lip service. But when it is that you get a true yes, Lord, down in your belly, and that thing begins to bubble up, and that thing begins to bubble over, and that thing becomes go from a true yes, Lord, to whatever you want me to do, I'm getting in position so that I might be ready. So when you call my name, I can come out the gate running, not getting ready to run. See, when you get that true yes in your belly and it starts to run over, that's when you get the enemy's nose wide open. That's when you get his attention. That's when you can look at the enemy and say in his face, don't front. You know I got you open. That's when the true studying, testing, and approving is started. Now wait. You being studied, tested, and approved from both sides of the fence. The Lord is watching you. The Lord is studying you. He's testing you. And to see if you'll be found favorable or unfavorable in his sight. The enemy is studying you. He's testing you. He's trying to drive the force out of you. with the weight of the world on your back. He wants to make sure you don't get to phase 3, the approval phase. See, in the beginning, he will let you rest. In the beginning, he'll let you think everything's all good. Can I take it back to 1990? In the beginning, he'll let everybody take you out to eat every Sunday to Roses for a chicken meal. In the beginning, they'll make sure you got plenty of food in your refrigerator. In the beginning, they'll make sure all your bills are paid. In the beginning, they'll make sure your kids got everything that they need. In the beginning, everybody will smile in your face. In the beginning, you'll have 100 people join the church in the first 6 months. In the beginning. Because he wants you to think everything is all good. But after a while, somebody say after a while, that's when the true testing comes. Somebody say soldiers home. Soldiers home. Soldiers home. Soldiers home. That's when the true testing came in. Will you yet preach when people think they're too good to come up in there with their fur coats? Will you yet preach when your membership goes down to 75 members a Sunday? Will you still preach when every time you go to pick up a mic, there's a roach crawling on the mic? Will you still preach when you got to bring your own equipment? Will you still preach when you see balloons flying in the air? Will you still preach when all you smell is liquor and fish grease? Will you still preach when everybody in the community is laughing and saying, what did you do, Job? What did you do to find yourself in such a predicament? And now the enemy is speaking. You left everything you had for this. You left a church with thousands of members for this. You left a home with 16 rooms in it for this. You left a city where everybody was singing your praises for this. You picked up your family and moved where y'all don't know not one person for this. Will you still praise? Phase 2, testing. Will you still worship? Will you still preach? With 75 people in the Soldier's home, like you got 75 million people in the Soldier's home. Will you go hard or will you go home? Which one will you do? See, because when you go through stuff like this brings me to point 2. Y'all sit down, y'all making me excited. Point 2, he knew what you were going to face before you said yes and before you went. Jesus knew what was going to happen to you before you even got the yes, Lord, in your belly. Oh, no, he didn't tell you, though, because you wouldn't have went. He didn't show you, though, because you wouldn't have had the faith to go. So he had to make it look like everything would be all right. Because, you know, we'll go, but we got to have a little glimpse or a glimmer that it's going to be all right a little bit. Jesus sent the disciples into the boat, and he said, go. Now, I'm sure there have been times, these 21 years, that you have had to think, I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for these people to be disobedient. These your people you gave to me. I didn't ask these people to come short on their tithes. Ooh. I didn't ask for people to smile in my face and stab me in my back. I didn't ask for people to treat my children unkind but still smile in my face and say, I love you, Bishop. I didn't ask for that. This is what you gave me. But just as the disciples were going through the worst hell of the night, Jesus came walking during the fourth watch of the night. Which means that there was a long time they had to go through the struggle with the wind and the waves, but he still had his hand on them. He may not have been physically with them, but he was with them. The fourth watch of the night represents the last part of the night. He came during the fourth watch. They were going through it first, second, and third, but during the fourth inning, that's when he came through. Just like during the fourth year, we were able to be removed from the soldier's home. Jesus came through during the fourth watch of the night. There were some things we had to go through the first, second, and the third inning, but after the third inning, that's when he kicked down the door, waving the 4-4. That's when he came through the door. During the fourth watch of the night. It was a purpose. There's a reason why he didn't deliver us right away. There is a reason why he gave us a pastor that didn't say, we got to go somewhere a little bit nicer. There is a reason. Because while we were in the middle of hell, right while we were in the middle of shoot 'em up, bang, bang, West Side soldiers, the Lord was developing a fight within us. The Lord was developing a diligence in us. The Lord was developing a humbling in us. And he had the right man to lead us. That same one that came from Birmingham, Alabama, that didn't have nothing. So when we went back to nothing, he was right at home. Every pastor wouldn't have stayed there. My mama didn't raise me like this. I'm better than this. The women, we had to go into the soldier's home with no door and hold on to the shower curtain and hope nobody was peeking through the window. Every pastor wouldn't have let their women go through that, but he knew we was built for it tough. He knew we could handle it. He knew we was no limit soldiers. He knew we was soldiers of the cross. He knew we could take a licking and keep on taking. He knew what we was working with. He knew he ain't have no soft women in that church. And those that were soft just left. And the rest of us just stayed. Well, I came back. Y'all stayed. I was away. I came back after I got myself together. So here it is. Now, Peter sees Jesus walking on the water. And when the Lord is making his move, we got to be so in tune with him. Because now Jesus was moving. But if you don't have a relationship, you won't be able to identify when he is moving. Because you won't know what is going on. You won't know who's coming up in your face. So while Jesus is making his move, Peter almost lost the move. Because his eyes became clouded. His vision became clouded by what he saw and not by what he knew. We got to be ever so careful that we are more in tune with what's inside of us instead of what's going on around us. But because our bishop is so in tune, he says, I'm just focused. I ain't mean. I'm just focused. You got to have somebody that's leading you that's focused, that won't be able to go with every contrary wind. How could he lead us into the promised land if he was not focused? How could the vision come to pass if his vision was clouded by what Atlantic City and vicinity had to do about how he was struggling right on Front Street? But the Lord will put your issue on Front Street because he knows at the appointed time he is going to raise you up and elevate you right on Front Street. Right in front of the street. You don't get me. Right in front of the street, 701 Atlantic Avenue. He will raise up your edifice So yeah, you was talking before. Yeah, we was in the wilderness, but we ain't in the wilderness no more. Peter almost lost it. Because while he was walking on the water, he's all rocking. And he can't see what's going on because all he's doing is rocking. He's supposed to have his eyes on Jesus. He had him there for a minute, but now he starts looking at his context and not his content. Which brings me to point 3. You are now rocking with the best. You are now rocking with the best. You got to know that in spite of how rocky it gets, you rocking with Jesus. In spite of how crazy it gets, you rocking with Jesus. In spite of how you feel, you are rocking with Jesus. You are now rocking with the best. I may appear to be like I got vertigo right now, but I'm rocking with the best. I may be seeming like I'm all willy-nilly, but I'm rocking with the best. You got to know who's holding you while you rocking. See, we don't know what babies think about while we rocking them. I ain't got no kids, but I seen how some of y'all rock your kids. So one, they can think straight. What are you doing? But in spite of how you rock that baby knows that they safe and secure in the mother or the father's arms because they are rocking with the best. No stranger came and picked them up to rock them. Not somebody who didn't know nothing about them, but they was being set up to go to sleep in Jesus. You are now rocking with the best. Like our bishop, in spite of what it looks like, you got to stand on the promises of God. Right while you rocking with the best. You got to learn how to have a balance. Because if you all in balance, that first rock, you going down. How many of y'all ever been in a fight before? And you like, you know what, they can hit me all they want to, but I ain't going down. Huh. Whew. What? Whoa. 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 You might get me on my knees, but as long as I still got one knee up, I'm getting back up. I'm getting back up. But when you don't have a relationship, you are all imbalanced. Your focus is wrong. You can't do nothing right. But when it is that you get on a tightrope, you've seen them on a tightrope before. One foot in front of the other. And in spite of them going like this, they are focused on the finish line. In spite of what it looks like, they are focused. So right while they're walking, it's 1 foot in front of the other. 1 foot in front of the other. I might rock, I might reel, but I ain't coming off the rope. This line right here got my name on it. I can't get on your line, you can't get on my line, and we can't get on Bishop's line. The line he's been on for all the days of his life had his name on it. He a big man. So the Lord know how thick to make his rope. He knew I'm gonna have to put a little extra girth in this rope. Because he's big, he's gonna be tested even more. But he ain't soft, he ain't no punk. Just because you saved don't mean you gotta be soft. Saved and soft are not